Hello, welcome to this pre-lab video. In this lab, we are going to be doing titration curves. And so the purpose of this video really is just to kind of walk you through what it takes to actually make a titration curve using the Logger Pro software and probeware, and how everything is going to be constructed to actually give you data. So this isn't our first experience with the Vernier hardware and software, so you're going to need one of those interfaces, one of those white boxes. You're also going to need a pair of instruments, a pH probe, which is going to be talked about right here, and also something called a drop counter. Now, the way that the drop counter works is it is effectively, if you put it on its side like this, there is a beam of light that goes from one portion to the other. And anytime anything breaks that beam of light, the digital response will mark what that is. And in this case, it'll tell the instrument to record the pH at that particular moment. And so because of that, we need to do a couple of things before we actually set out to do the instrumentation and the work itself. First thing, we need to calibrate the pH probe. Now, we got a taste of what that was in our last lab, where we calibrated the pH probes using the pH meters. This time we're going to be using Logger Pro and the pH probe that is associated with that. And so there is a similar kind of calibration that you're going to be doing. You're going to do another 2-point calibration where you're going to calibrate at pH 4 and at pH 7. And so the information here kind of walks you through how to do that. It's very similar to the procedure that you did when you calibrated the pH meters in the last lab. The other thing that you need to do, though, is you need to do the calibration for the drop counter itself. So I'm just going to move myself over here so that you can see. For the drop counter itself, again, what we are looking for here is we need to make sure that it's set up properly, that the drop counter is positioned over where it can drop in so that the drops that are falling out of the reservoir actually break the beam of light and record accordingly. The other thing that needs to happen is we need to actually figure out what the value of the drop is. So we need to correlate a volume in milliliters to a single drop. And that's really what this particular calibration is for. We're making sure that our apparatus is set up appropriately so that it's lined up and the drops go through that drop counter. But we're also looking at what is the value of a drop. And so what you are going to do is you are going to do some work to set up the actual alignment piece. And the valve itself, you can't really see it in this picture particularly well. But this reservoir is a double valve reservoir, meaning there are two stopcocks here. And the purpose of the two stopcocks is really to help you to limit the speed at which the liquid comes out. So we're really trying to slow down the movement so that we're getting about one drop every 1 to 2 seconds. We don't want it to go faster than that, because if it goes faster than that, then we end up running into a situation where the drops are being counted, but the pH inside of the solution hasn't had a chance to actually react and catch up. And so we end up getting improper values for our concentration because the whole thing is just lagging behind by a couple of milliliters or drops or whatever. So the first thing that we're going to do, we need to make sure it's aligned. We're going to kind of mess around with the stopcocks here to get it so that it is letting out liquid at the rate that we want it to. And then initially, so this is what the setup looks like at the end. You've got a stir bar, you've got a beaker, you've got everything set up there. The pH probe actually fits inside of the drop counter so that they're kind of stabilizing each other. But before we can even do this, the thing that we want to do first is we're going to set up a graduated cylinder underneath here. And we're going to use this procedure here to actually measure the value of a drop. And so what you're going to do is you're going to measure the volume before you start the calibration. You're going to let it drop through, so the drop counter will count the number of drops that it goes through at a given amount of time. You're going to measure the volume after at least a milliliter. So the procedure here says to start with a graduated cylinder that's lined up and set it up so that you're going to measure it somewhere between 9 and 10 milliliters. So you just kind of let it drop, let it do its thing, measure the actual value itself, and then it calculates the number of milliliters per drop based off of what you put in. So that's kind of the setup work. Once you get to the actual titration component, this is actually relatively straightforward. You're going to do 3 sets of titrations, one with a strong acid, hydrochloric, one with a weak acid, acetic acid, and one with a polyprotic acid, phosphoric acid. The procedure that you follow is practically the same. You're going to set up the apparatus. You're going to pipette out a certain amount of hydrochloric acid. It says 20 milliliters here. You're going to add some water to it just so that it has more volume. Now, you should know from Chem 105, diluting the acid after you've measured it precisely does not impact anything, because with the use of the titration equation, we know that we started with 20 milliliters of the original HCl solution. We can match that up with however many milliliters of sodium hydroxide at the given concentration of sodium hydroxide and solve for the hydrochloric acid concentration. So the adding of the 50 milliliters here doesn't make a lick of difference. All that it does is it gives us more volume, which for our purposes here, we're using a stir bar, means that it's going to splash less. And that's going to make the reaction more efficient. So step 1 here is all about how to assemble the apparatus and to get it so that it's set up properly. The remaining steps 2 through 7, talk about how to actually do the data collection. And so this is where that calibration phase is actually really helpful to you, because since you've already calibrated the dropper to give you that correct flow rate, now all you need to do is just set it up and make sure that the drops are going through, that they're being collected. And if you hit collect there, as soon as that first drop passes through the beam, it's going to record the pH, and it's going to keep doing that basically until you tell it to stop. And what you should get is a pretty nice titration curve that you can do some work with. So steps 5, 6, 7, or 5 and 6 rather, tell you how to walk through the process of determining where the equivalence point is. And so you can evaluate the volume of the equivalence point. You can also evaluate from the titration curve itself what the pH at the equivalence point is. For the hydrochloric acid, we're expecting it to be close to 7 because it is a strong acid, strong base interaction. And so that's what you're doing. You're going to collect the data. You're going to store the data run and save it to your computer. And by storing it and saving it, you're making it so that it is there for you. You can actually run all 3 trials on the same file. And when it comes to the results, what you turn in makes it really easy, because all that you need to do is this: just drop in that logger profile, the whole thing. Drop in that logger profile that has all of your graphs in it. Don't do any of that copy and paste stuff. Just drop the whole thing in. And that way I can validate your results and say, okay, yeah, you found the equivalence point properly. Your graphs look pretty good. And then when it comes to the formal lab report itself, all that you have to do is just copy and paste those titration curves into your overall report. So you're going to do this procedure for collecting the titration curve for the hydrochloric acid. You're going to repeat the exact same kind of analysis with the acetic acid. Go through all of the steps, collect, store, save, and then you're going to do it again with phosphoric acid. And the only thing that is different about the phosphoric acid, it's polyprotic. You're going to record 2 equivalence points, not just 1. So you're going to see it bump up once and level off, and then bump up again. And you want to make sure that you record both of those, because you can see in the data and results here, there are 2 equivalence points that are needing recorded. So procedurally, that's what you're looking to do. On the calculation side, all that we're asking for in the analysis is, I want you to determine the concentration of the HCl and the the acetic acid. In the lab itself, I will give you the concentrations of these 2 so that you can calculate percent error. And then there are a couple of questions here related to the titration curve and the phosphoric acid curve, where you're going to be comparing, instead of concentrations, you're going to be comparing Ka values. And so this is the kind of stuff that in your formal lab report, this would be part of your data analysis section, where you're calculating concentrations, you're calculating percent errors, you're calculating Ka values and percent errors for those. You're explaining why the curves look different, because they should look different from each other. And so I will give you a separate video that walks through this formal lab report and kind of what you need to do for it. Very similar to what you had for the kinetics of dye lab, only less. There's no research component for this one. I will tell you, these data are a lot easier to work with and to manipulate and to do what you need to do than the kinetics lab was. So that's all for this particular video. I'll check in with you next week when we get ready for our next lab. Until then, I'll see you later.